In the coming week, the airwaves, well, they'll be swamped with the words impeachment inquiry.
The center of this new impeachment inquiry.
We call it an impeachment inquiry.
Before launching an impeachment inquiry,
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announces an impeachment inquiry.
The government whistleblower who set off the impeachment inquiry.
We really only have one topic to discuss.
Here's a live look at where the high-stakes hearing with the acting director of national intelligence.
What is in that whistleblower's complaint?
It is in the Constitution.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo subpoenaed for Ukraine documents.
These past 10 days in September may prove pivotal. Key moment in the impeachment battle.
What I think has shifted is sort of the moral implications inside the Democratic caucus.
Donald Trump will leave Congress, in my view, no choice but to initiate impeachment.
Oy vey, as my loving grandma used to say. Don't get me wrong, we have a corrupt president. Not exactly breaking news. Should he be impeached? Yeah, for about 25 things. But do you need me to tell you that? Do you need Status Coup to cover this wall to wall? I don't think so. But let me tell you something else that's very scandalous. The fact that Flint, Michigan still does not have clean water 5.5 years later. The fact that Newark, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Cleveland, parts of Florida, parts of California, parts of Massachusetts, Detroit.
So the residents have had to bear this burden of the city screwing up, the state screwing up.
So this issue about water is a growing crisis in the Midwest, if you ask me.
And many other cities in America also have water problems. Another scandal. Black men continued to be executed by the police in the United Corporations of America.
So it's many inconsistencies that's in the situation. So we know, that it's plain out murder.
I understand or have some understanding of police culture, that they like to protect their own.
For years and decades, it's been an open season for black men.
After they dragged him for several feet, they put him back on the ground face down.
Another scandal. State parties all over the country, Democratic state parties, are screwing local progressive candidates, just like the DNC screwed Bernie Sanders in 2016. Another scandal. Fracking and these crude oil, natural gas, totally unnecessary, totally toxic pipelines are being built at a record rapid pace, and there are fighters on the ground getting no media coverage.
Since when is profit more important than water? When is profit more important than people?
So if you want 24/7 Trump, 24/7 impeachment, 24/7 Ukraine, 24/7 Russia, whatever other scandal of the day, not your guy. But if you want on the ground, in the field reporting of the actual, true, long-lasting, happening way before Trump scandals in America, become a member. StatusCout.com/join for as low as a cup of coffee a month. StatusCout.com/join. Help us build the media revolution. We go out in the field. We've been all over this country in the last 2 years.
Standing Rock. I've been with you. I've been with you since Standing Rock.
Wow, you got me on right now. We're doing it, baby. We're going to South Bend. It's time you show the real Mayor Pete.
In 100 days, they tore down 1,000 houses in 100 days.
Thank you, whether it's Standing Rock or Flint or everything else you do. You know, you guys, it's not even like watching news. It's just watching truth, you know.
It's not me and you, Jordan. It's the ruling class. It's David Koch. It's the Walton family, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. It's them, not us, that benefit from these illegal offensive wars.
Come on over here. Whoa!
We're here at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, and you are going to see live the actual caucus process. We are here.
We go out in the field, and we give the microphone back to the people.
Yo! Cool! I know who you are, yo!
How you doing, man?
You're the man, yo!
Unmarked pills, okay.
Ooh, essential oils, purification. Oh, peppermint, la la la. Love it.
I am worried about Jordan, testing positive. He doesn't have any breathing difficulties right now, but he definitely has a cough that's been really bad and that's been hurting his chest.
That's Fury right there. I've cleared out the desk and now got my drill a hole and we'll see how this goes. Hopefully well. I know a general idea of what I want, essentially, so I'll try and get all this down to about a minute, get the main points, especially I got 2 videos at least for Flint.
The bottom line is, it's Sunday morning, I'm preparing for my Sunday live stream, which usually takes me about 2 hours to prepare for before the live stream. And I got an email from a viewer.
Hey guys, Jen Dice here with a behind the scenes video. First of all, thank you so much for being a member. It's because of you guys that Jamal and I are able to be here. We can't thank you enough. It means just the world to us.
Millions and millions of people have been laid off. Millions more have had their hours cut. We're kind of living in a quiet, silent depression. What do you call 45 million people filing for unemployment?
$1,200 in 3 months makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense.
Everybody should be paying attention to what's going on because this is happening in every county, not just Louisville, Kentucky. And that's why the world is like, wait a minute, enough's enough.
And one thing I do know is if you're not sitting at the table, you are on the menu. And it seems like we continue to be on the menu.
I don't want to have to lose everything that we worked really hard for. We've been struggling for 5 years, and then we finally got everything together, and it just instantly went away.
Literally driving across the country during the pandemic, talking to people, finding out what's going on.
There are people such as yourself and other people that are telling the true story of what is happening.
All of these black people have been assassinated by police in this city, and none of them have been brought to justice.
People don't really care about those things in places where, you know, we're not New York, we're not Chicago, we're not Minneapolis, we're Louisville, Kentucky.
If somebody calls you screaming for help at 911, they never treated her. They never came to her apartment, nothing.
Vote. Vote. And do what's right in your heart, because change comes from within. So as long as your heart is pure and you're doing what's right, that's what matters.
Once upon a time, there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative is the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Chariton live. Thursday, October 22nd, 2020. Couple hours before the final presidential debate. Status coup in the House, right here in the United Corporations of America. I'm going to be going live twice today for this live stream. And then I will be live, I believe Jen will be joining me too, at 8 o'clock Eastern. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. We'll be live before the presidential debate, which starts at 9 o'clock Eastern. I think we're actually going to stay live throughout the debate. I don't particularly know yet how we're going to do it. I don't think we're going to show the debate because YouTube likes fishing for copyright violations, even though we're not, even though the debate is going to be on several channels on television, but we will be live before the debate around 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific. So hopefully you could join us for the pre-debate show. And let's have a good time today. If you missed yesterday, I was in New York covering a biggest ever, they called it, Trump MAGA flag drop. And boy, you know, each time I feel like before I go out to these things, the Trump supporters, I think I know what I'm getting myself into, and it just gets wackier and wackier every time. So we've posted a few clips from the rally yesterday. The rally included Trump supporters pummeling and basically pushing a Black Lives Matter protester to the ground. There were Antifa protesters or counter-protesters that were arrested. There was some crazy conspiratorial/racist things said to me by Trump supporters. They also chanted fake news at me because I had the temerity to challenge them at all on their fearless leader. So hopefully you were able to see it. If we might have some new viewers today that are Trump supporters, because we had a big audience yesterday and a lot of them were Trump supporters based on the headline. Unfortunately for you guys, you're welcome to troll. We welcome the trolls. Please, if you're going to troll, leave some money. But not a Trump supporter. Also not a Biden person either. But if you're looking for a new MAGA channel, I'm not your guy. Just putting that out there. So, we got 200 people watching. 100 of you have pressed that like button. Please, smash that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the video. The more people that press the thumbs up, the like, the more people that will see this live stream. Thanks for the first super chat. I already missed it. Somebody left a super chat, but it's gone. Sorry if I'm missing it. Keep those super chats coming. Also, if you don't know, let me show it on the screen. We have the Status Coup, the new Status Coup members Discord going. Woo-hoo! It's a members-only perk. We launched this the other day. So holla to my friends in the Discord. Definitely sign up as a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month, and you will get the link to join our Discord. I'm in the Discord during the day, not all day, but I say hi, and sometimes I'll be in there longer than others. Jen will be in there, and we did cancel the members call yesterday. We were supposed to have a members call. I just didn't get home in time from the Trump rally, so we're going to do it next week. But definitely join the fun at Discord and sign up as a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month. It makes a big difference, and it helps us fund this reporting. So, the debates tonight, I want to start with the Hunter Biden saga. Because to me, I think what's going on and the censorship of this story is extremely dangerous in terms of journalism. I think Trump has created a post-truth, post-fact dynamic in his years in the White House. It's been elevated by the Breitbarts of the world, the Fox Newses of the world, right-wing radio. But I think right now what you're seeing is neoliberal corporate media allies of the Democratic Party also partaking in this post-truth dynamic, in this political tribalism. Gabriel, that was the super chat. Gabriel from my friend in Sweden, 100 SEK, rerun, 2 cups of coffee, regards from Sweden. Thank you so much. Bone, as soon as Jordan got married, the nice shirt is on. No, the nice shirt is on because there's a debate tonight, and I don't want to look like a bum because I'm going live tonight. But thank you for the nice shirt comment. So let me just be clear, 100% clear. My issue with this is it's actually not about Joe Biden and corruption. I personally, I didn't need the Hunter Biden New York Post story to tell me or confirm that Joe Biden is corrupt. All you got to do is look at his record. He's bought off just like the rest of them, because we live in the United Corporations of America. Okay? I didn't need the New York Post or Hunter Biden to reveal that to me. And also, the New York Post Hunter Biden story, which, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're living under a rock. But basically, the New York Post, I guess it seems like 5 years ago, but it was only a week ago, they reported and they obtained emails showing that Joe Biden met
with a high up number 3 executive at the Ukrainian oil company, Burisma, which is where Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, was on the board of. I'll read this part if you need a reminder what we're talking about here. Let me zoom in so you can see it. Hunter Biden introduced his father, then Vice President Joe Biden, to a top executive at a Ukrainian energy firm less than a year before the elder Biden pressured government officials in Ukraine into firing a prosecutor who was investigating the company, according to emails obtained by the Post. The never-before-revealed meeting is mentioned in a message of appreciation that Vadim Pozarsky, I probably botched that pronunciation, an advisor to the board of Burisma, allegedly sent Hunter Biden on April 17th, 2015, about a year after Hunter joined the Burisma board at a reported salary of up to $50,000 a month. Quote, "Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to D.C. and giving an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together. Really an honor and pleasure," the emails read. So, bottom line, let's just, with the caveat, say if the story is true. I think it is true, and I'm going to tell you why. Bottom line, the New York Post obtained emails showing that Joe Biden, who said he has had zero dealings with Hunter Biden in terms of his business dealings in Ukraine or anywhere else. He said he never talked to Hunter about it. He said, I've never had meetings about it. That story would reveal that Joe Biden met with this Burisma executive, where Hunter, his son, was serving as a board member, making $50,000 a year to do nothing. And then, a year later, when a Ukrainian prosecutor was investigating Burisma, Joe Biden went out of his way to basically threaten Ukrainian government. If you don't fire this prosecutor, we're pulling the aid the United States gives to Ukraine. Now, I first go, and yes, we are going to get into Crystal's interview with Bernie. I see a few comments in there, so don't you worry. Remember, 300 people watching right now, 168 likes. Smash that like button. We need more likes. Please keep those super chats coming. And remember, we can only grow through you and membership. We're right now at 1,687 members. We want to get back up to 1,700. Lickety split. So if you consider and value real in the field journalism, I'm going to show you some clips from yesterday's Trump rally a little bit later. Please support us. Sign up as a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month. So the bottom line is, the New York Post reported that Joe Biden met with this Burisma executive because Hunter Biden set it up while he was vice president. And then later on, when a Ukrainian prosecutor was investigating said company, Joe Biden stepped in to get this prosecutor fired. This was being called a right-wing smear. This was being called a Fox News story. And Biden said, I never had conversations with my son about his business dealings. I know nothing about it. This is just smears. And basically, like they did in the Democratic primary, the corporate media basically fluffed Joe Biden's pillows, didn't challenge him on it, didn't investigate it, because they are an arm of the corporate Democratic establishment. So, when you look at a story like this, the initial reaction, we know. Facebook's communications person announced, we're basically hiding it. We're not allowing it to be prominently showed on Facebook. Then Twitter literally blocked your ability to share the story. This is censorship, right? And the main point is, there's several points. Number one, Joe Biden did not deny that the emails were authentic or real. His campaign did not deny that the emails were authentic or real. Joe Biden or his campaign also did not firmly deny that he met with this Ukrainian Burisma executive. They came out with the classic Washington non-denial denial. You got that? Non-denial denial. Well, we don't see that a meeting was ever scheduled. We don't see it in our schedule. I mean, okay, that's not saying it didn't happen. And you would think, I'll tell you what, if somebody accused me of having a meeting with a Ukrainian oil man a year before, pressuring the Ukrainian government to fire this prosecutor, and I didn't meet with that person, I would definitively say, I didn't meet with this person. This is BS. Prove it, because I didn't meet with him. That's what I would say. That's generally what innocent people do, right? So, but the media and Silicon Valley, and much of Silicon Valley is former Democratic Party operatives. The media just decided we're going to censor this. We don't know if it's real. And then came the Biden campaign, which is a very, very deja vu to the Clinton campaign, screaming Russia. They screamed, this is a Russian disinformation campaign. And then 50 former Intel executives that just happened to be open that they're supporting Biden came out saying, with no evidence provided, by the way, because, of course, with Russiagate, there's never any evidence needed. They come out saying this has the markings of a Russian disinformation campaign. What's the evidence of that? It doesn't matter. We're just going to say. Okay. Well, the Director of National Intelligence and the FBI came out saying, we have no evidence that this is a Russian disinformation campaign. Now, I want to be consistent. I always tell you, don't just lazily believe whatever intelligence agencies tell you, because they're often wrong and they often lie. In this case, I don't have a reason not to believe it, because Trump has been on the warpath with the FBI director, Christopher Wray, for not opening flimsy investigations into his political opponents. So if Christopher Wray is saying who has been relatively fair and has not just done Trump's bidding, if he's saying, well, we don't have any firsthand intel that Russia is behind this, okay, then I have no reason to think that. But now there's a new element that if before I said there's no evidence these emails are not true, they keep saying they're not true, just like Hillary Clinton's campaign. Just like Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, when WikiLeaks was dumping the Podesta emails, they kept saying, "Oh, they're not." They were basically hemming and hawing and deflecting. "Oh, we think these are forged," with no evidence, and they weren't forged, obviously. But now, after this story has been censored for over a week now, the only discussion of the story has been the censorship of the story. Now it comes out. Hunter Biden's business partner calls the emails genuine, meaning they are real, and says Hunter sought Joe Biden's advice. I'm going to read you this. Tony Doblonsky, who was listed as the recipient of an email published by the New York Post that appeared to detail a business arrangement involving a Chinese company and members of the Biden family, has confirmed that the email is genuine and provided more information regarding the Biden's role in the deal. The email includes a note that, quote, Hunter has some office expectations he will elaborate. A proposed equity split references 20 for H and 10 held by H for the big guy, with no further details. Quote, the reference to the big guy in the much publicized May 13, 2017 email is in fact a reference to Joe Biden, Bobulinski said in a statement to Fox News. Bobulinski said he is the CEO of Sinahawk Holdings, which he explained, quote, was a partnership between the Chinese operating through CEFC Chairman Yi, that's a Chinese energy company, and the Biden family. He said he was brought on as CEO by Hunter Biden and James Gillar, who was listed as the sender of the email. Bobulinski went on to say he does not believe Joe Biden's past claim that he and Hunter did not discuss his son Hunter's business, claiming that Hunter frequently referenced asking him, meaning Biden, for his sign-off or advice on various potential deals. Quote, I've seen Vice President Biden saying he never talked to Hunter about his business. I've seen firsthand that that's not true because it wasn't just Hunter's business. They said they were putting the Biden family name and its legacy on the line, Bobulinski said. Quote, the Biden family aggressively leveraged the Biden family name to make millions of dollars from foreign entities, even though some were communist-controlled China, he added. Bobulinski also said that he believes that the Chinese involvement in the deal was, quote, political or influence investment on their part, and that, quote, Hunter wanted to use the company as his personal piggy bank by just taking money out of it as soon as it came from the Chinese. So There's a lot of things here. There's a lot here. So let's unpack this. And thank you for the super chat. Tanya H, 20 pounds. Appreciate it, Tanya. Thank you. Swirly Swirl, $5. People are mad at Nina Turner for having Kasich on her podcast. I think they are being counterproductive. Thoughts? I didn't listen to it, so I'll have to listen to it. I don't have a problem with her having him on the podcast, as long as it's not a pillow party and, you know, she challenges him a little bit. I don't have a major issue with it. First of all, let me go back to the original story. Joe Biden's campaign did not, again, blinking red lights. Joe Biden's campaign did not challenge that these emails were authentic. Joe Biden's campaign did not definitively, firmly say, I never met with this Ukrainian oil exec a year before. I then tried to get a prosecutor in Ukraine fired who was investigating that oil company. He lied. He said, I never met with anyone from Burisma. He said, I'd never talked to Biden or Hunter about his business dealings. But Twitter and Facebook and probably YouTube, mixed with New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, all in a coordinated manner censored this story. They blocked it. To me, the dangerous thing here to me is not, oh, they're censoring this story and it could affect the election. To me, even if it's 100% true, and I think it looks clear that it is true, it doesn't magically make Joe Biden more corrupt than Donald Trump. It doesn't mean go vote for Trump. To me, who you vote for is your decision. To me, it's irrelevant how it affects the election. It isn't journalists' job to selectively censor truthful facts based on the calendar date, if it's close to an election or not. That is partisans. That's not journalism. Journalists' jobs are to vet information as best as you can and make sure and deliberate whether it's true or not before releasing it. So look how they censor this story that, again, Biden's campaign didn't challenge the authenticity of the emails. Biden's campaigns didn't strongly deny ever meeting with this person. All they did was just scream Russia, disinformation with no evidence that it's disinformation, and all the ducks lined up in a row to censor this story. Look at that compared to these same outlets. These same outlets, they didn't block the passing of Michael Cohen was in Prague and that Russiagate story. They didn't block the passing of a Washington Post story that said that Russia hacked Vermont's electricity grid to shut off the power. They didn't block a highly dubious story, or not just block, suppress it on Facebook and blocking it from being shared, of Russia was paying Afghanistan. They were paying mercenaries in Afghanistan to kill U.S. soldiers with bounties. No evidence. Anonymous intel officers that have been spewing and leaking the same evidence-free stories for 50 years, but specifically on Russia for 4 years. Look at that selective censorship. One story, one set of stories is all bad for Trump. They not only allow it, they don't block it, they elevate those stories. You think it's just coincidence that all of these Russiagate stories are always trending number 1, number 2? Twitter, Facebook, push it. Okay? But a story that, frankly, should not have waited till 3 weeks before the presidential election, because the media should have aggressively investigated this during the Democratic primary. But instead, they opted to have a pillow party with Joe Biden, to never challenge him, to treat him with kid gloves, frankly, to hide the fact that he's not cognitively sharp. They hid the fact that he was forgetting Obama's name several times in a speech. They hid the fact that he was making incoherent statements half the time. When they did show his incoherent statements, they were pretending that they're just gaffes rather than there's something going on here, and that it wasn't a stutter from his childhood, because when he was vice president, he wasn't having these cognitive verbal issues. When he was a senator, he wasn't having these cognitive verbal issues. So the selective censorship here is alarming. And again, I'm not a Trump supporter. For those of you that are new here that might be Trump supporters, you could watch, but I'm not your guy if you're looking for a rah-rah MAGA. To me, this is not about who's more corrupt, Trump or Biden. They're both corrupt in different ways. To me, this is about the corporate media, which is bad for all the reasons I tell you every day, is now actively no different than partisan politicians and partisan Democratic think tanks and partisan consultants and partisan DNC members. They are now acting in a politically tribal way. There was no smoking gun suspicion here that merited this story from being blocked from being posted on Twitter, from being suppressed on Facebook. Biden's campaign never came out firmly denying that he met with this Ukrainian oil exec. They didn't challenge the authenticity and now of the emails. And now today, Hunter Biden's business partner is coming out saying, yes, the emails are real. He's even saying that the reference, Hunter's holding 20% equity in the Chinese company for himself, and Hunter's holding 10% for the big guy. He's saying the big guy was Joe Biden. You're telling me, again, to be fair, just because Hunter Biden's business partner is saying this doesn't make it automatically, okay, that's true. We got to look into Hunter Biden's business partner. But the New York Post, they say they vetted the emails. Joe Biden's campaign's not denying the authenticity of the emails. Now, Hunter Biden's business partner comes out saying, yeah, the emails are legit. I actually have them. He says, I've passed over records to congressional investigative committees that have asked me for the records. And he's saying Hunter Biden not only was holding equity in this Chinese company for then Vice President Joe Biden, a complete conflict of interest, and probably illegal, by the way. But Hunter Biden was routinely talking to his father about possible deals and asking for his advice while Joe Biden was the sitting vice president. That is beyond corrupt. But again, they won't talk about this story because it could potentially hurt Biden before the election. They're saying it's Russian disinformation with no evidence that it's Russian disinformation. And we've seen this since the 1950s and 60s. Oh, there's a peace movement. There's an anti-war movement. We think those Woodstock people, we think those Vietnam protesters, we think they're working with Russia. They even said Martin Luther King was working with Russia or for Russia. And they're doing it today, actively. 460 people watching, by the way, 266 likes. Please press that like button. Please, please keep those super chats coming. Please, please consider signing up as a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month. Would love to get that number closer to 1,700 by tonight. A reminder, we'll be live before the debate at 8 o'clock Eastern time right here, Status Coup, for a little analysis, commentary, Jen and I. Then during the debate, we'll be live. We're not going to show you the debate, so you have to watch the debate elsewhere, but we'll be commenting live, and we'll stay live after the debate. So big night ahead here at Status Coup. Keep pressing that like button. Keep sharing. If you're new here, subscribe, and thank you for the super chat. I love JD. $5. Are you willing to directly state to your audience, I am willingly voting for a racist, rapist, neoliberal warmonger? If not, why not? I love JD. I've already told my audience I personally am voting for Biden. Yes. I'm not going to say what you're telling me to say. I get your point. I've already listed my reasons why I'm voting for Biden. I've told my audience, you vote for whoever you want. It ain't my job to convince you. And if you want to voter shame me, go ahead. I don't really care. So, sorry. If you don't want to watch because I'm making a decision that you don't agree with, that's on you and says something about you. So, but thank you for the super chat. So, what's amazing here, it's not only that Joe Biden's campaign, it's not only that Hunter Biden's business partner has confirmed these emails are true. Hunter Biden's business partner, there are text messages now that have been revealed. Hunter Biden's ex-business partner, Tony Bobulinski, was warned, quote, "Don't mention Joe," in a 2017 text exchange that emerged following Bobulinski's bombshell statement to the Post that former Vice President Joe Biden was involved in his family's plot to make millions in communist China. The messages obtained by Fox on Thursday purportedly show Bobulinski being instructed by James Galar, another key player in the alleged scheme, not to make any mention of the former vice president's involvement. Quote, "Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face to face. I know you know that, but they are paranoid." A screenshot shows, and I will show you the text message. This from a Fox News reporter. Quote, "Ask if they have recommendation or I would do it short term if needed, but maybe he feels better if Hunter puts there a friend with no power but reporting communications. Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you are face to face. I know you know that, but they are paranoid." So let me be clear here, because I think this is a problem. And it's just purely partisan, by the way, because I see some comments in the super chat. Just because something is printed at Fox News or the New York Post doesn't automatically mean it's not true. It probably does mean that there is a right-wing agenda behind it. It probably does mean that the right it is to damage the Democrat because it's coming from Fox or Daily Caller or Breitbart. We know this. Just like when MSNBC or CNN are publishing most stories, there's an agenda there. But just because Fox is the source of a story or the New York Post is the source of the story, you can't automatically say, oh, it's the Post or Fox News. I don't believe it. That's just stupid. And that's just naive of you. It is important to look at each story individually. In this case, again, New York Post originally published a story. I've worked in media. I know people at the New York Post. It is 100% has a conservative viewpoint, but there are some investigative reporters there. They do vet a lot of their reporting. They did vet these emails, okay? And again, the most important thing here, think common sense. Take off your anti-Trump hat or your anti-Biden hat. If Joe Biden never met with this executive at Burisma, don't you think he would have strongly denied it and said, you prove that I met with him because I never met with him. If he has proof that we met, I'd like to hear it. That's what innocent people do. He didn't do that. He just said, his campaign said, well, we don't have it in the schedule, which is a classic Washington, D.C. non-denial denial. He also, this campaign never challenged, and Glenn Greenwald has pointed this out, they never once challenged the authenticity of the emails in question here. All they're doing is saying, we don't see it in the schedule. It's a smear campaign. It's Russian disinformation. Basically, Biden is borrowing Trump's fake news. Biden and his campaign are just reflexively screaming fake news, Russian disinformation, blah, 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 blah. Close your eyes, count to 10. They're literally borrowing the Trump playbook in this case in a much different way. And by the way, Glenn Greenwald points out, he posted a video where CBS's Leslie Stahl interviewed Trump. Let me play you that video first.
I think it's one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen, and you don't cover it. You want to talk about...
Well, because it can't be verified.
You want to talk about insignificant things.
I'm telling you.
Of course it can be verified. Excuse me, they found the laptop. Leslie.
It can't be verified.
What can't be verified?
The laptop.
Why do you say that?
Because
even the family hasn't... The family on the laptop, he's gone into hiding. For 5 days, he's gone into hiding.
He's preparing for your debate.
Oh, it's taken him 5 days to prepare? I doubt it. Okay,
all right.
go ahead.
So let's get back.
So as Glenn Greenwald pointed out, yet another example of the media explicitly saying they don't think the Hunter email should be discussed, let alone reported, a corrupt abdication of their role. Of course it can be and has been verified by others in the email chains, by the hard drive, and by asking Biden. Glenn also said, none of the journalists or media outlets that called these documents Russian disinformation, either on behalf of themselves or by mindlessly citing unnamed intelligence officers, will review or revisit those claims in light of these new facts because they don't have to. And he's talking about this. He's talking about this person's thread. I want to read to you that person's thread. Hold on. Let me find it. Oh, I had it and I lost it. Let me find it on Glenn's page because this was a good thread. The excuse that it's Russian disinformation has gone out the window with this statement. FBI and DOJ, Department of Justice. So they've just moved on to ignoring it altogether. Again, Hunter Biden's business partner is openly confirming that the story is true, that the emails are true. So I also want to play what I thought was a miraculous clip from CNN's Brian Stelter. You know, Mr. Reliable Sources here. Mr. Reliable Sources here. It will show you that there is no consistent corporate media measurement, particularly among pro-Democratic Party media figures. There's no consistent measurement for how to vet stories, which stories should go out there and be published, and which stories should not. This is from a radio clip. Brian Stelter, Mr. Reliable Sources, was on with a veteran journalist, Susan Ferriccio. I've never heard of her, but she made some good points. You'll only listen to the audio here. There's no video. But listen to this.
Provide the story to. I think that they were going to first try to get Fox News to air it. And then they ended up with the New York Post willing to air it. The bottom line is it deserves scrutiny by all media outlets. And if they pick and choose this and decide it's not worth their time, I think that's showing real bias. I think everybody deserves to look at the Mueller stuff, and everyone should look at this and give Biden the scrutiny that he's not running for president of the Glee Club. He's running for president of the United States. And this is serious. This is not last year's news. It's whether or not his son was coordinating to get him to talk to these Ukraine oligarchs, and he was benefiting from it. I mean, it's really dirty,
Okay,
and
Brian,
it needs to be looked at.
Forgive me, Brian Stelter, and then I want to move on to the Google, which is a related story. Brian.
I said it was last season. You're saying it's new. I think bottom line is we don't know what is real and what is fake in these emails, if there is anything real in them.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop any from reporting the Mueller and the dossier and all that stuff.
You're bitter. I understand that you have a lot of resentment about it.
Now we have ethics. Okay, now we have ethics.
Don't you dare act like newsrooms didn't have ethics in 2017 and 2018.
Well, I know they
did.
Well, you can don't dare me all you want, Brian. I've been doing this for 30 years. So say whatever you want. It's my view. And I have a right to say it. I was invited on the
view is that the news media was unethical with Mueller?
Hang on a second, one at a time. I don't quite get what you're just...
It's my view. So.
Let me bring in Sarah Fisher, and then I want to move on to Google briefly. But go on, Sarah.
So basically, just to be clear, CNN's media watchdog, if you would call him that. I've had some dealings with Brian Stelter. Maybe I'll tell you on the members call. Hint, hint, sign up as a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month. We need you. We need to grow our membership. And if you sign up, you'll get a link to join our Discord. So definitely think about signing up. By the way, we got 525 people watching right now. Woohoo! Press that like button. Let's get more people. So, what's interesting here, you have Brian Stelter, CNN's media critic, CNN's media czar, calling it yesterday's news. And like Leslie Stahl, because I showed you that clip from Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes, she said, well, we can't vet the laptop. Brian Stelter's just saying, we don't know what's real or not real in the emails. That is the giveaway, folks. In this case, they don't know what's real or not real in the emails, so they're not going to pass the story around. But in the case of Russian bounties on U.S. troops in Afghanistan, they run with that. They didn't know if that was real or not. That was based on anonymous intelligence officials, just like the Washington Post story on Russia hacking Vermont's electricity grid. They didn't know if that was real or not. They pushed it anyway. Just like Rachel Maddow pushing that Russia might have the capability of during the polar vortex a few years ago, of hacking into America's electricity grid and freezing us to death. People pushed that nonsense. I mean, there was countless stories that they did not have definitive evidence were true or not, yet they had no problem pushing it. But now, this Hunter Biden story that, by the way, I think that journalist, the female journalist, doesn't understand the full story. It's not only about Hunter Biden and him being a corrupt dude. It's about Joe Biden possibly profiting as vice president off of being vice president and making money off of it for himself and his family. It's not just about Hunter Biden, folks. It's also about a simple thing. Did Joe Biden meet with this Burisma executive, right? An oil executive that his son Hunter was on the board of the company making $50,000 a year. Did Joe Biden meet with him? And if he met with him, look to a year later when Joe Biden suddenly cares about a corrupt Ukrainian prosecutor and pushed to get that prosecutor fired. That prosecutor was investigating Burisma, who Joe Biden's son was on the board of. What never made sense to me, and I just go by common sense, why would the sitting vice president, Joe Biden, they don't even care about corruption in America because they are corrupt. Why would Joe Biden give a flying fuck, excuse my French, demonetized? Why would Joe Biden give a flying fuck about a Ukrainian prosecutor who is corrupt? That does not pass the smell test to me. Seriously, think about it. Why would Joe Biden get involved trying to get a Ukrainian prosecutor fired? Does that make sense? I know I say, folks, the bottom line is, but to me, here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, if this story is true, which I believe it is true, I believe there's smoke. I believe that Joe Biden's campaign, not denying those emails, not challenging those emails, not firmly denying that he ever met with this Ukrainian exec. They're now the business partner of Hunter Biden is saying the emails are real. Why would he be saying that? He's saying that he was asked to provide records and documents to a intelligence committee. So, I don't know. We could look into his business partner. What reason would he have to lie about this? The point is not, smoking gun. This story is real. Hence, Trump is better than Biden. Frankly, I think Trump's going to go hardcore on this story during the debate tonight, and I think it's a waste of his time. He's not going to reverse his sinking Titanic based on Hunter and Burisma and Joe Biden. He has been an awful leader during coronavirus. I have said there is blood on his hands, just keeping it real. He should have acted much more aggressively and earlier and have a national lockdown. I don't care what the civil libertarians said. If we would have done what China did, we'd have a lot less cases, and it wouldn't be surging like it is now. Trump has been an awful, awful leader on coronavirus, and he's a corrupt racist. Yes, he's got 15 to 20 credible sexual assault allegations against him. He's an Islamophobe, and he's also stoking white supremacists all over the country. So I'm not a Trump supporter, and if you think me screaming about the Joe Biden story is about supporting Trump, then you don't know me and you don't know this channel. What this is about is selective censorship. What this is about is corporate media who pretend to be journalists literally pushing and elevating one set of highly dubious stories, which is a lot of the Russiagate stories. They pumped it. They went with it 24/7 on CNN, on MSNBC, and the New York Times, and the Washington Post. When those stories came out to be bunk, they never corrected it. They pushing and elevating those stories while blocking and harshly vetting and censoring a story that might hurt their friend, the Democratic presidential nominee. That's what this is about, and it's dangerous. And let me tell you why. And I had a conversation with my cousin about this today, who is a progressive. This is a slippery slope, folks. And keep those super chats coming. I'll read a few in a second. This is a slippery slope. Okay. Right now, they're censoring a story that maybe you're holding your nose, you're voting for Biden, so you say, great, censor it because I want Trump out. I don't care. Okay. Well, what happens? Pandora's box is opened. What happens when we're in 2024? What happens if, I don't know, name your pick. It's Democratic. It's 2 weeks before the Iowa caucus. It's, presidential candidate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez primarying President Kamala Harris at that time. Okay? What happens if there is a highly, highly negative story, critical story about President Kamala Harris? I know that's, bothering you to hear that, but we're just, hypothesizing here. What happens if there's a critical story about Kamala Harris doing something corrupt in the White House to financially benefit her and her family, and Twitter blocks it, and Facebook suppresses it, citing, we don't know if the emails are true. We don't know. We don't know. There's no certainty. Meanwhile, a hatchet job story comes out about her challenger, AOC, who, by the way, in polls at that time, 4 years in the future, is leading in Iowa, leading in New Hampshire, leading in other places, and they push it. That is the selective censorship coming to a theater near you, because it's already happening now. And if you're okay with it, just because you want Trump out, then you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow when the censorship comes back to bite you in the butt. Jordan, the green ski key isn't very good. I don't know what to tell you, folks. I don't have a full-time tech person. I'm doing my best. The audio, I'm hoping, is good because I am much more concerned about the audio than the visual. Send me an email if you're a visual person and tell me what's wrong, and I'll talk to Colin about whatever is wrong with the color or video. I thought I got the color thing worked out, but apparently not. So that is what this is about. And unfortunately, because we are in a tribal period in politics, and tribalism has replaced, frankly, sense and common sense, we are now on a post-fact period where on the right, Trump has created a post-fact conspiratorial thing, and they just scream fake news. I experienced it yesterday covering the Trump rally. And now on the left, when there's a genuine, credible story that Joe Biden needs to answer for and he needs to be challenged for, he's doing his version of fake news, saying, I'm being smeared, Russian disinformation, can't talk about it, and he attacks journalists who ask him about it. This is not a good thing. This is not a good thing. So, before I move on to the next topic, I want to remind you, please press that like button. We got 530 people watching, 390 likes. A reminder, Jen and I will be live tonight around 8 o'clock Eastern time for a pre-debate warm-up special, and then we'll be live during the debate. We're not going to be showing the debate. We don't want to get hit with a copyright, but we will be commenting during the debate, so you'll have to watch the debate somewhere else, but hopefully you'll tune in to hear our thoughts, and we'll be live after the debate with our reaction. So definitely tune in. I also want to remind you guys, if you don't know and you're new here, we just launched a Discord for Status Coup members. Here's a little teaser on what's going on in the Discord. So that's the new Discord. We will have our members call. I'm thinking Monday. So as a member, you get access to the Discord and, of course, the members call. I am telling you straight into the camera, glasses off. We need to grow our membership. We've lost a lot of members because of coronavirus and people losing their jobs. We could only grow this company and do the in-the-field journalism that no one else is doing if we grow our membership. It's as plain and simple as that. Please, if you can, if you got $5 a month, consider signing up, statuscoup.com/join. I want to play a clip from the Trump rally yesterday. There was a lot of terrible things that were said. There were a lot of conspiratorial things that were said. There were a lot of racist things that were said. But to me, this was the most awful thing that was said. The screen is going to go blank for 1 second because I didn't load it in time. Here is, to me, something that was really alarming, that the fake Trump, because there was a Trump doppelganger there, that the fake Trump said.
What about the manufacturing factories? You say they've been coming back, but we're in a recession in manufacturing.
Recession because of the China virus, because the communist Chinese, not the Chinese, the communist Chinese, spread that disease in a lab, and we are going to make them suffer.
Before the pandemic, we were in a manufacturing recession.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to have them eating white rice, and that's it. They're going to starve to death.
That's pretty racist, but that's good. Yeah.
Thank you very much. They're out to kill us, and they're not going to do it. We protect Americans. God bless you. That's right. You know what he just said? The communist Chinese that are killing our people, the Chinese, and my wife's Chinese, by the way, they're going to suffer like never before. God bless you.
You said they're going to be eating white rice.
Tell me, you liberal liar. Thank you.
You just said it. You just said they're going to be eating white rice.
That's right. The communist Chinese government, they're going to suffer and die. Thank you.
You said the Chinese people, but that's okay. We have the tape. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Keep dancing. Okay, more famous. I'm just telling you what you said. Hunter Biden. So if you just heard, whoever the Trump doppelganger is said we're going to have them eating white rice. He actually said it in front of some, I don't know, Asian people. I don't want to disrespect them. They might have not heard or understood what he said. But it was pretty clear that he said we're going to have them eating white rice, which is pretty racist. I don't know. Am I interpreting what he said wrong?
No, actually, I didn't hear. No, it's pretty on point.
The Trump doppelganger just said, "Yeah, I'm gonna have him eating white rice." I mean, you don't get more racist like that. But he actually just put his tongue out at me. Again, I got to be honest. I really don't like people who say other people are paying for protesters to be out here with no evidence. So I want to say,
apologies for the mispronunciation. Doppelganger. Apparently I said it wrong. Doppelganger. So, full disclosure, I mean, this was not President Trump, obviously. This was a doppelganger. By the way, the guy does a wonderful impression. I'll give him that. Great impression of Trump. So, what is really alarming about this is, first of all, that guy, even though he's impersonating Trump, is obviously a full-blown MAGA Trump guy. I don't know for a fact. I assume he makes money somehow going around impersonating Trump. I don't know who pays him, but whatever. But the sheer casual nature of the racist things that are said by these people, they're not even hiding the fact that they're racist. I had people screaming "White Lives Matter" at me. I had people screaming other words that I'm not going to repeat here. To say, I'm going to punish the Chinese. I'm going to make them eat white rice. I'm going to make them starve to death. I mean, this is like if you were in high school and like were with these high school jock bullies in the locker room. Just like that awful, terrible things that I heard said in high school locker rooms about women, about minorities, mostly by white people. And he's saying it, by the way. He's like, I have a Chinese wife, so that means I'm not racist. Well, is your Chinese wife cool with you saying I'm going to have them eat white rice and I'm going to starve them to death? It's just crazy. I know he's like a doppelganger and he's just mocking and supposed to be funny, but it's not funny. It's not funny. Other things that were being said, like there's two types of being scared, right? I'm rarely actually scared for my physical safety. I was at Standing Rock, trust me, I was. But I wasn't as scared for my physical safety. I'm scared for the country because the genie's been let out of the bottle. And the more clips that we post, for those of you that watch the whole live stream, you know what I'm talking about. But for those that watch the whole live stream, I'm scared for the country because the racism that has been let out of the bottle and elevated, and the kind of ease that it's been pushed out by these people and made okay to be this way by Trump. It ain't going anywhere whether Trump loses or not. It's going to stay. And that's a very scary thing. Truly is a very scary thing. So I want to show you a story that's probably going to get covered in very, very few places. If you remember a couple months ago, I interviewed Matt Taibbi, who's used to be with Rolling Stone. Now he has a podcast. He actually just won an award. Congratulations to him, the Independent Journalism Award, the IZZY Awards. So congratulations to Matt for winning that award. I interviewed Matt about a financial money laundering scandal called the 1MDB Malaysia scandal. And a lot of people kind of went over their head because they hear Malaysia and like, who cares? But it was actually one of the largest global money laundering scandals in the history of the world. And basically, Goldman Sachs, the American bank, who participated in tanking the United States economy and the global economy in 2008, 2009, was again at play. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, just as a reminder, here's a clip from my interview with Matt Taibbi on this global money laundering scandal, the 1MDB scandal that Goldman Sachs was a part of.
The criminal justice system. Goldman Sachs, if anyone not that hasn't bought off the government, like if a regular Joe Schmo banker did this, wouldn't there be criminal liability as opposed to paying, settlements, which it seems to most Americans, the banks, they're just kind of putting this into their balance sheet, like as an expense, the expected fines they're going to pay.
Right.
So from 2008, as far as I know, there were no serious bankers put in jail. And now you have this, which is essentially, I don't know if it's a Ponzi scheme or what have you, but Goldman is essentially
It's like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. So, okay, now there's an investigation. I think Malaysia is talking about like 7.5 billion in fines. But what is the American citizen to think? Because as far as I can see, bankers, I mean, it's now normalized that, all right, they don't have to worry about actual criminal time for these kinds of things.
Right. Yeah. The expectation is the government's going to come up with a number for Goldman to pay. And the way this usually works is a bunch of people get together in a room and they decide how much the bank can pay without it impacting their bottom line too much. Probably we're going to end up in the neighborhood of somewhere between $3 to $5 billion, I think is going to be the penalty, which is a massive penalty. I mean, you think about Deepwater Horizon, it's like, it's that level of a problem. But Goldman will probably sneak through. Now, their two bankers that were based in Malaysia have already been criminally charged. One has already pleaded guilty, which is already a little unusual. But the question is, does it go higher? And there's some evidence that that the figures in this scheme met with some of the senior executives at Goldman Sachs. So there is a possibility that there could be something, but you're very right. Most likely that nothing will happen, and somebody who steals $6 or $7 billion is not going to go to jail. Well, you know who is in jail, right? People who steal dime bags and that sort of thing.
And
sorry to say, but my prediction and Matt Taibbi's prediction was real. Goldman Sachs roll in record $1.6 billion 1MDB bribe spree. They admitted their role, and they are getting hit with a pretty massive fine with no jail time. Goldman Sachs admitted its role in the biggest foreign bribery case in U.S. enforcement history, conceding that its officers helped spread $1.6 billion in illicit payments across Malaysia and the Middle East in a scheme that diverted money from a development fund into an international spending spree on mansions and lavish parties. A small Malaysian unit of the U.S. bank pleaded guilty to a single conspiracy charge on Thursday. Goldman agreed to billions of dollars in new payments to authorities in the U.S., UK, Hong Kong, and Singapore, bringing its overall tab to more than $5 billion to resolve probes into its fundraising for the Malaysian vehicle known as 1MDB. Goldman's parent company avoided a criminal conviction to resolve the investigations as part of the deal that allows the bank to put off any prosecution as long as it cooperates with ongoing U.S. investigations and submits to compliance reports. Blah, 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 blah. So, have you listened to this record? Have you spun this record before? Let me get this straight, okay? Goldman Sachs, the greedy bank that committed illegal actions that might have led to many of you losing your homes in 2008 and 2009, might have led to many of you losing half or more of your savings in 401k, might have led to many of you losing your jobs in the Great Recession, which for most of you was actually a depression, and basically got off with a slap on the wrist after being bailed out by the United States government. Then, a couple years later, they participate in the largest money laundering bribery scheme in world history that we know of, and they are hit with a $5 billion fine. I said to my wife earlier, because she was like, wow, $5 billion's a lot. Are you kidding me? In the grand scheme of Goldman Sachs, $5 billion? Yeah. It's a significant penalty. But you want to know why this illegal behavior is going to continue and continue? And it's not just Goldman Sachs. It's Wells Fargo, who pushed fake accounts on unwitting clients and has done many other illegal things. The reason that this is going to happen in perpetuity is because they factor it in to their balance sheet. They know they're not going to go to jail. Their executives know they will not face criminal penalty. It's just the price of doing business. We'll take our chances. We'll pay the exorbitant fine. Yeah, we don't like, we're going to have to trade in some of our bonuses. Apparently, Goldman Sachs their execs are sacrificing or returning their bonuses. We don't like that. But we won't be in jail. Why do you think I call it the United Corporations of America, folks? Because we don't live in a country. We live in the United Corporations of America. Wave that flag. Dance it all around. The fact that you as a bank, can you imagine for a second? Could you imagine if a second you as a citizen, or if you're not American, in your country, had any involvement with money laundering? Could you imagine that? you would be going to jail, if you're lucky, for 15 to 20 years, possibly more. If you had any involvement with money laundering, an average citizen with no power, if you milked wealthy investors out of their money with basically a Ponzi scheme, which is what this 1MDB thing was, you would be locked up and the key would be thrown away. But if you're Goldman Sachs, we'll pay the money, we'll pay the fine. Yeah, we'll take it on the chin for a year or two. We won't make as much as we would have, but then we'll be back and come up with another illegal scheme to screw the masses. And what did Joe Biden tell these people? What did Joe Biden tell Wall Street donors behind closed doors? Quote, corporate America has to change its ways. It's not going to require legislation. I'm not proposing any. We've got to think about how we deal people back in. This comment came after the original, nothing will fundamentally change. I mean, it's unbelievable. And, of course, we're in a pandemic. We're over 220,000 people dead. The debate is tonight. We have the Supreme Court proceedings with Amy Coney Barrett. There's a lot going on. But this is basically a pin drop. It's almost like school shootings, and there's been less of them because of the pandemic and not full schools being back. But it's almost like school shootings. We've just become numb to it. Oh, this bank committed fraud? Oh, pay the fine. Next illegal bank story. Nobody seems to care but us. There's no actual penalty for these criminals. And then, who, by the way, Lloyd Blankfein was the chairman of Goldman Sachs when this happened. He conveniently retired right before this news came out. Interesting, Lloyd. These motherfuckers who are leading the banks engaged in this criminal activity have the unprecedented gall to then go on CNBC and other places and lecture progressives on Medicare for all and that we just want free money and that's not how the world works when they are committing criminal money laundering fraud. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. You think, obviously, President Trump's not doing a damn thing about this. Spare me. $5 billion? Fine. That might sound like a lot, and it is a lot. It ain't going to change anything, and they're going to do it again and again and again, and eventually it's going to be your money. Unbelievable. Now, final story before I go. And a reminder for the 450 people, make sure, put it down, get back here around 8 o'clock Eastern time. Jen and I will be live before the presidential debate. We'll be talking to you, and we are looking forward to it. By the way, quick reminder, thank you for the super chat. Cat Faye, Helen, swear jar, $5. I will also be on the Discord right before the debate. Right before I go live at 8 o'clock, I'll be on Discord talking to you guys for a few minutes. So definitely, if you are a member, statuscoup.com/join, join us in the Discord. If you become a member, you'll get the link to join the Discord. So also want to quickly remind you, because we still have our GoFundMe going. Thank you so much. We got great donations yesterday. 14 minutes ago. Gene, $25. Thank you, Gene. Catherine, $100. Ronald, $250. These were yesterday and 2 days ago. So we're now at $123,358 raised. Definitely want to raise more money. We do have plans for election day night. I think, not definite, but I think we're probably going to be in Pennsylvania on election night. So definitely, if you can, chip in, whether it's Super Chat or GoFundMe. So Bernard Sanders, many progressives are mad at him. I still love him, but, it's fair to criticize him when necessary. He went on with a crystal ball of rising, and he said a lot of things that you're used to hearing Bernard Sanders say. I want to play one part of the interview in specific and give my thoughts.
Let's talk about what that would look like under a potential Biden administration, because this is something that I've heard from you and a lot of others. Okay, we're going to have an opportunity to push Joe Biden to the left. What does that specifically look like in practice? What would some of the red lines be for you? And if we fall short, in your measure, in terms of fighting for working class citizens of this country, would you be open to supporting a primary challenge either against him or against Senator Harris in 2024?
Those are great questions, Crystal. Let me start off by saying that I don't think the progressives within the Congress can do it alone. So the first point that has to be made, and I'm going to make this over and over again, if you want a progressive agenda to come out of the United States Congress, we're going to have to rally the American people by the tens of millions to demand that we have a government that represents all of us and not just wealthy campaign contributors. We're going to have to correct and deal with a very corrupt election system with massive voter suppression that exists every single day right now. Second of all, what we are going to do is I'm going to lay out a 100-day agenda which speaks to the need to begin the process of moving toward Medicare for all. My legislation, 4-year legislation, first year lower the eligibility age from 65 to 55 and cover all the kids. I'm going to introduce that bill. Immediately, we're going to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour, equal pay for equal work. Immediately, a massive infrastructure program to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure and create millions of good-paying jobs. Immediately, making it easier for workers to join unions, et cetera, et cetera. So we have got to lay out an agenda that speaks to the struggles and the desperation of working class Americans. And finally, tell the corporate elite they have had their day. And we are going to stand up and fight for policies that workers desperately need.
So that was Bernie Sanders. Nothing out of the ordinary. You would expect Bernie to say these things. There was a separate story in Politico that Bernie Sanders is behind the scenes vying to become Joe Biden's labor secretary. Listen, I'm a big Bernie guy. You know this. So it pains me to say this. But I think Bernie Sanders is living in the clouds a little bit. I love Bernie, but I think a lot of the naivety that he showed during his campaign is popping up now. First of all, if he thinks Joe Biden is making him labor secretary, then, I can't believe It's Not Butter is making me the new Fabio. I mean, come on. But more than that, I think that Bernie Sanders and what he has done in terms of re-energizing the progressive movement is extremely important, and I don't want to minimize it. But I think we need to also look at the limits of what he is advocating for are. What he is advocating for is essentially a lot of what he already has advocated for. We got to have an unprecedented political movement. We need protests in the street. We need protesting the Biden administration if they're not going to do the things that are needed on healthcare, on the climate, criminal justice reform, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is, and I say this all the time, this is not new if you're a Status Coup viewer, it's not Joe Biden that ultimately will be making the decisions. Foreign policy, yes, I would say the president makes most of those decisions. But there is an unwritten, implicit dynamic here called the United Corporations of America. We just went through it in the Goldman Sachs story. Joe Biden is not ultimately going to be making decisions that his donors and the corporations and the bourgeoisie don't want. Why do you think it is? Credit to Kyle Kalinske. He found this clip that Joe Biden in 2007, when he was first running for second time running for president, was caught on tape on C-SPAN saying, basically, I support Medicare for all. We should have a Medicare for everyone system. He called it a single payer system. Why do you think all of a sudden when he ran in 2020, all of a sudden we can't do that? It's not possible. You think it has to do with who's funding his campaigns? You think it has to do with who is working on his campaign? A lot of former Obama people and Hillary people that have conflicts of interest with the healthcare industry, who's advising him, like Rahm Emanuel, who basically works for a Wall Street bank, or Lawrence Summers, who comes from Wall Street. So just protesting, and I'll be there, we'll cover it, But just rallying the troops, protesting, Bernie talking about, I'm going to have my own plan for 100 days. Yeah, they're going to take your plan, Bernie, and they're going to wipe their collective anuses with it. And I love you. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. We got to give tough love sometimes to those we love. Bernie's going to be lucky if he gets a parking pass at the White House. They're using Bernie right now, and I say to Bernie, stop at 79 years old going around the country for Joe Biden during a deadly pandemic. Okay? I appreciate that you want him elected and you want Trump out and you think Trump's a danger. That's great. You, at 79 years old, let Obama go endanger himself, not you, Bernie. You're older. You have had a heart attack. You should not be out during a pandemic where cases are rising around the country. But putting that aside, we need more than protest. We need more than bodies in the street. The only way you get real change in America or anywhere else is when you hit them, meaning the corporations, the donors, where it hurts. And that's the wallet. That's the wallet. You got to hit them where it hurts, and that's their wallet. I've said this a couple times, and I'll say it again. Remember, the Washington football team, which used to be referred to, the name used to be a Native American slur. The owner said a while ago, I'm not changing the name. Over my dead body, we're not changing the name. Well, snap your fingers. He changed the name after there was a pressure campaign, including potential boycotts of the Washington football team sponsors. When the Washington football team sponsors were starting to feel threatened, they went to the owner and said, you got to change this name. Changed it like that. They haven't changed it to anything yet. They're just having as a placeholder Washington football team. But the bottom line is, it ain't enough just to and I'm not going to be that white guy telling black people how to protest. I'm all for Black Lives Matter. I will be there to cover it. It's their movement, and they should do it how they want. But I think overall, if you want to actually apply pressure to Biden, you've got to hit the donors and the corporate capitalism where it hurts. That means, can you get tens of thousands of people to boycott Amazon? Not for a day, but permanently. Can you get tens of thousands of people to stop using mainstream banks in America? A lot of climate activists have helped lead divestment campaigns from a lot of these banks. Can you get tens of thousands of people to stop going to these fast food drive-thrus? Can you get tens of thousands of people to stop going to places like Walmart and elsewhere? Can you get tens of thousands of people to put in money into a pot so that Amazon workers could strike? And that money that we're putting into that pot can go to those Amazon workers as they're losing their interim wages. Devil's advocate, you might say, well, Jordan, if Amazon workers strike, there's right now tens of millions of people that are unemployed. Amazon is just going to hire those people that are desperate for work. You might be right. You might be right. They might just get strike breakers that are desperate for work. That's fair. But we don't know until we try. And instead of, instead of people pouring in money, the amount of money that was poured in for Amy McGrath in 24 hours, Amy McGrath, a candidate in Kentucky running on Mitch McConnell is not helping get more of Trump's toxic things passed. A candidate who there's no there. She just says, I was in the Marines. She's basically running on being pro-Trump. The amount of money that not just big dollar people, but small dollar donors poured into her campaign. I think she raised like $15 million or something in 24 hours after her debate. Put that into a pot for workers so that they could strike. Not just Amazon, not just fast food, but workers all over America that work for multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerates that own our government. If you have that to go with the on-the-ground, in-the-streets protest, That's something the globalist order cannot prepare for. So you look at something like Standing Rock, right? Imagine if Standing Rock, what went with it was economic boycotts. You think that maybe that would have gotten some more media attention than Standing Rock got? You think if with the bodies on the ground there, white allies with Native Americans leading, you think if there was strikes on Amazon, strikes on driving, just not driving? Kind of bad for the oil companies if you're not going to drive, right? There's ways of doing this, but we have to better organize. So as much as I love Bernie, I think we need to think bigger. I think it's going to take a little new thinking. I'm not like being ageist, but we need new ideas. And Bernie, I love what's in here, pointing to his heart, and what's in here. But just, creating a political revolution, yeah, we've tried that. It didn't work. We need to hit them where it hurts, and that's their wallet. Plain and simple. So before I go, one more reminder. I will be live in a little less than 2 hours for the pre-debate pregame right here around 8 o'clock Eastern time. Jen will be joining me. We will stay live during the debate. We're not going to show the debate, but we will comment during the debate. And then we'll most likely stay live after the debate. Thank you so much for watching this. Please, I ask you again, sign up as a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month. We got to grow this thing, folks. We got to grow this thing. If you're already a member, you could spread the coup. You could suggest to your friends to check it out. Sign up. You could tell them why we're different. It's not just us bloviating in a studio. We're also out in the field like I was yesterday. We really, really need to grow the membership. I would love to get it back to over 1,700 as soon as we can. Please, please, please sign up, statuscoup.com. And also, you could also contribute right there in the GoFundMe. We really appreciate all help in our GoFundMe to support this journalism. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at 8 o'clock Eastern. Peace out.